Malik, say who is back. Watch it talk. I claim to make one nation under law. Real moles know the prophet is the effing law. I think I'm Chief Malik, J. Lewis Bay. Watch it talk. I claim to make one nation under law. Real moles know the prophet is the effing law.
Islam, peace, and greetings to you all. I am doing this video rebuttal because no one has ever properly challenged this Sara Suten Seti's character's claim against Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America. In the debate between himself and Alim Bey, who is not in the Moorish Science Temple of America, nor does he represent Noble Drew Ali, Alim Bey did not properly argue Seti's false claims, though the whole time leading up to the debate, Seti's whole premise was based on disrespecting the Prophet Noble Drew Ali from the onset. Here is a clip of how Alim feels about Noble Drew Ali.
There was more that was mad at me because I didn't get into protecting the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But that's what I'm saying, and me harping on Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But that wasn't what I was there for. I wasn't there to protect the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I already did a video called You Can't Ride a Dead Man's Dick.
See now.
Right, and I'm sorry. I don't ride dicks. I'm not a dick rider.
In this, we see that Alim is amongst a group of subvert Moors who have not grasped the principles of honoring thy forefathers and foremothers, because if it were not for Noble Drew Ali, then we would not even have awoken to this fact of who we are and our protections here. On top of that, Alim Bey stood at his podium with a Moorish flag, not a Washita flag, draped in front of it, the very flag that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us in the year 1925. Some nerve of this guy. However, I thought it my duty as one who is a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America and follows Noble Drew Ali to take it upon myself to really snatch the head off of the lies of this Seti character once and for all.
Break it straight up. The Moorish Science Temple is a covert pan-Islamic organization established by the Ottoman Turk agents with the sole purpose of dismantling the Black Power Pan-African movement of the Marcus Messiah Garvey and establish a fifth column of Turkish pan-Islamic nationals in America. Prove it, Seti. Here we go. Agent number one, Deuce. Is it Drews? Drews Muhammad Ali. 1886, 1945 AD. Mold and planning the UNIA by the Ottoman Turk Authority. Prove.
He starts off with Deuce Muhammad Ali. According to the elders of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali met Deuce Muhammad Ali one time, and that was at a rally that Marcus Garvey had given in New York. And even the details on that meeting is sketchy. So Seti's claim that somehow Deuce's being a plant in Garvey's movement as an alleged Turkish conspirator and his relation to Prophet Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America is completely without merit and unfounded. He can never prove this, and he could not prove it at the debate. You all just brought into it as good sheep are trained to do.
And I was wondering when I was going into the 101s why Noble Drew Ali had this fantasy for Turk. Turk this, Turk that. How do a brother that's in America end up talking about Turkish history unless somebody that taught it to him?
The Prophet Noble Drew Ali never mentioned the Turks in the 101s. Also, the word Turk was mentioned one time in all of Prophet Noble Drew Ali's literature, and that was in chapter 45 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. This was Seti's attempt to foster the manufactured hatred in you all against Islam, the creed that our forefathers founded, not pale Arabs. This sentiment is based largely on Afrocentric scholars like Chancellor Williams, author of the book Destruction of a Black Civilization, who falsely rewrote portions of history and portrayed the Arabs as the sole reason of why the so-called black civilization fell. For instance, Chancellor Williams says on page 120 of said book, the Arab general Amir ibn al-Az entered Alexandria in 642 AD with only 4,000 men. The conquest of Egypt by the Muslim armies, which had reached Pelusium 2 years earlier, was not only to change the character of Egyptian civilization radically, but it was a disastrous impact on the dignity and destiny of Africans as a people. Now, any true historian, any true scholar will research history and find that the so-called blacks or Africans, two European terms for our people that they love so much, was not even sitting on the throne of Egypt when the Moors, not the Arabs in the sense that this author and many like him have put it, was sitting on the throne. The man that possessed the throne of Egypt at that time in 622 AD was Flavius Heraclius Augustus, who was a Byzantine emperor of Armenian origin who ruled the Eastern Roman Empire or Byzantine Empire. To further expose faulty scholarship on behalf of Mr. Williams, we see that Egypt had been occupied just a decade before the Roman Empire by the Persian Empire between 618 and 621 AD by the Sassanid Persian army who had defeated the East Roman forces in Egypt and occupied the province under Khosrow II. The Sassanid Empire, known to its inhabitants as Iran-Shah and Iran, modern-day Iran, was the last pre-Islamic Persian empire ruled by the Sasanian dynasty from 224 to 651. Till this day, Iranians do not consider themselves as Arabs because the true Arabs are Moors. So therefore, we cannot trust the words of any man who has twisted up history to fit any type of agenda geared towards one race hating another. Chancellor Williams' works must now be revisited and large portions of it dismissed as fallacious. So now back to Seti's claims. Seti has obviously read these works and has presented lies to you because you have never read it. Speaking of the Moorish Science, and based on his presentations, he knew that you never would. He lied to you just as Chancellor Williams did in Destruction of a Black Civilization on that particular point. For the record, when the Moors were expelled from Spain in 1492, majority of them fled to Turkey and were welcomed there with open arms as brothers in Islam.
Who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep the unbelievers away? Angels. What is the modern name for these angels? Asiatics. What is the shade of their skin? Olive. Olive. Now, when you know the history, at the time which he wrote it, it was the Ottoman Turks in control of Mecca. Look it up.
There are many shades of olive. The darkest brown olives are called, of course, black olives, and their shades vary from green to tan to brown. At this point, I would like to address another lie that Seti presented when he said that the Ottoman Turks were in control of Mecca at the time that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali wrote these questions and answers, which was in the year 1928. Notice that he did not give any references to that particular claim because it was a lie, all designed in an intricate web to capture your mind state with his presentation. History tells us, not Sara Suten Seti, that it was the Arab Revolt of 1916, which was initiated by the Sharif Hussein bin Ali with the aim of securing independence from the ruling Ottoman Turks and creating a single unified Arab state. Also, if the Moors went to Turkey after their expulsion from Spain, and we can prove that Islam has been taught in the Americas, as I will do later in this series, since 700 AD, then why wouldn't Islamic factions be trying to give to the so-called Negro Islam at that time? In a meeting with Woodrow Wilson and Noble Drew Ali, when Noble Drew Ali detailed his plan to raise our people up, Wilson told our prophet, "We have the Negro in such a yoke that trying to give the Negro Islam is like trying to put pants on a horse." The European was content with the so-called Negro being just that, a Negro. The Europeans knew that once we got back to Islam, that we would have learned that we are Moors and not Negroes, blacks, coloreds, or Ethiopians, or today's African Americans, because these names allude to slavery, and that we would find out that we were Moors and the true possessors of this land.
Pay attention to that medal right there, right there. Pay attention to that medal right there. There it is, this Ottoman Turk medal. That's the one Deuce got awarded. You see that? That's a Turk. Bring it home. See it? Do you see it? There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. But I got one so sweet, it's gonna kill it. The Ottoman Empire coat of arms. You see that medallion right there? Yeah. There it is. Okay? Talk to me.
Let us review the claim of Seti's medal argument just briefly, because it really warrants no response other than the fact that it is utterly ridiculous. Here we can clearly see the differences in every single medal that is shown, and none of them remotely compare to the headpiece that is worn by our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A kindergartner can make this distinction. If it were a Turkish medal, why is it not displayed amongst any of the medals that were worn in Turkey? Where was Drew Ali's medal that matched Deuce Ali's medal if they had the same paymaster? Another moot and fallacious argument made by this Seti character. And I just wanted to touch on that briefly because he tried to give a presentation and you heard the people in the background, woo! I mean,
go back to I guess this is Circle 7 Quran, number 7. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar. And y'all know Hagar was the Egyptian handmaiden of Abraham. The Arabs say they come from Ishmael, her son. But he says the Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God Allah. They keep talking about over here. But you got to go to the foundational scriptures. That's what anything you're dealing with, you go to the foundation. He gonna come in here and give you Kimmy.
This is another one of the many straw man arguments presented by Mr. Seti. Number one, he did not read the whole chapter of the Moorish Quran speaking about the Turks, so I will, for the sake of the viewing and listening audience who needs to hear the whole context of what is being relayed by our Prophet Noble Drew Ali. In chapter 45, the divine origins of the Asiatic nations in the Moorish Quran, I will start from verse 2. He said the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Egyptians, who were Hamathites and the direct descendant of Misraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese, and Chinese. Now, when we look at the history of the Turks, we see that Turkish people, also known as the Turks, today are a sub-ethnic group of the Turkic peoples. This is just coming from a basic Google search that anybody can do. You can go to Wikipedia or any online encyclopedia and get this same information. When they say sub-ethnic, we see that the writers are speaking about a people who are there now, offshoots of an original who are called the Turks. However, history shows us that the original Turkic people, of whom the Turks derive, hence the phrase sub-ethnic group, are largely a Mongoloid people descended from a tribe called the Hun, of which Attila the Hun derived. When we see who the progenitors are in relation to today's Turks, we see that they derive from peoples residing in northern, central, and western Asia, Mongolia, southern Siberia, and northwestern China, and parts of Eastern Europe. They speak languages belonging to the Turkic language family. They share to varying degrees certain cultural traits and historical backgrounds. The term Turk represents a broad ethno-linguistic group of people, including existing societies such as those of whom I will list for you to read.
Yeah, I come